them have resolved an argument with their partner online or by text message that they were having difficulty resolve in person. And that the research also stated the multifunctional phone have become an independable lifeline to the rest of the world. While speed on mobile phone boosts interpersonal connection and stay in touch constantly. However, the other research said phone affect the dynamic between two people. When trying to have meaningful conversation, and cell phone have a pervasive habit of interfering with human interaction. A significant portion of couples eating together especially interrupt their meal just to check the touch or voicemail. Having their cell phone ring while going out, that means your partner is not important.
So after looking at all the research too, what are you guilty of?
Yeah, I am guilty of I hand my cell phone to my kid because when they interrupt while eating in the restaurant, I just say, here, watch this cartoon. Yeah, and in the morning, actually, yeah, my cell phone is my best friend. In the morning, I first woke up, just like you guys said, I have to grab my phone and check it. Even when I go to bed, before I go to bed, I have to go check my cell phone if it have any message or important notification. And I usually bring just next to me, sleeping. But after I do this research, I'm like, oh my God, this is good. I have to try to let my phone out, and I definitely sleep it down, and I get better sleep without the cell phone because I just keep checking, over checking, and make my brain I can't sleep.
So definitely, this was eye-opening after your research.
Yeah,
right?
of course, absolutely.
And so, since she was actually touching on childcare, that's where Cynthia is actually going to be talking about. She'll go over kind of how cell phone addiction is being really, really strong in younger adults and why.
All right, my name is Cynthia, and I'll be discussing about the hazards of phones with childcare. Who many here are parents and have children? Raise your hand.
Yes.
All right. You give your children cell phones just to keep in touch with them, just to make sure that you'll be able to lead them to the right direction, hoping that they don't get into trouble, right? But what are the it's fine. What are the many problems of children with cell phones? Well, one of the reasons is the overusage of children using cell phones, communicating with friends when parents aren't around, just to give them a more independent feeling with their peers. Children who are underage should not be exposed to cell phones for too long because their bodies and brains are still developing, both physically and mentally. It is no myth that cell phones are hazardous. However, long exposure of cell phone usage is more dangerous for children. Upon doing a few research, I realized that overusage of cell phones can cause brain cancers and other mental illnesses. Cell phones radiate radio waves, a type of radiation in the electromagnetic spectrum that has less cycles, thus having less energy compared to the other wavelengths. The frequency of radio wave can be as low as 3 Hz to 300 gigahertz. However, long exposures of radio waves have proven that it is one of the leading causes of brain cancer. And because we know that a child's body is still developing, young children are more vulnerable to develop brain cancer 10 times more than adults. Unlike adults, a children's head contains more fluid and a thinner frame surrounding their brain. A child-specific absorption rate, or SAR, for using a cell phone is 900 megahertz, whereas an adult is 1800, 2 times more than a child. As for young adults, they would do anything to follow the latest trend when it comes to owning and using the latest cell phone model. While their bodies are less vulnerable compared to younger children, there is a chance that overusing phones will become fatal. Effects of this addiction include restlessness, careless behavior, lack of sleep, stress, and fatigueness. Teenagers have also developed finger cramps from texting to friends. Teens do not realize how many texts they send to their contacts or how long it takes for them to text. Okay, quick question. How many of you text for more than a minute? Raise your hand.
More than a minute?
Yeah. Then you have a higher chance of developing finger cramps if you text for too much. So even texting can be pretty dangerous for all of us, not just children and young adults.
So I got a quick question. Just jump in real fast. So based on everything you're researching too, do you feel like we're creating that cell phone addiction with young adults now, or how do you think that society's handling that?
I think we're pretty much the leading cause for children and young adults to become addicted to cell phones because as adults, we become more independent and we make our own choices. And of course, children want to do the same thing. They want to be more mature like everybody else in society.
Just kind of like mimic everyone else, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then obviously the same question I'm asking everyone else here. After you were researching this, what can you admit that you're guilty to? Because
Well, I admit, I'm a freshman here at college. I don't really, I can't really call myself an adult quite yet, but I am a child who is completely addicted to their phones. Like, I just cannot stop thinking about what is happening around me, what is happening outside my world, and I just want to make sure that I'm in touch, but after doing this research, I realized that it's becoming a danger to me, and I've realized that if I become less addicted to my phone, I'll have a better life with everybody that's around me.
So obviously, you're gonna look at your phone for social media, that's a given, but also you have news feeds on there too. So, majority of the news that you guys get, would you say is from your cell phone? How much compared to like actually being on a computer and like looking at the internet? Like, would you say more on your cell phone or more on a computer?
Computer.
Okay, a little bit both. I heard more cell phone. We'll roll with that. Aaron's actually gonna talk about social media in the news. Just basically exactly what I said. Like, you guys know that you're looking at your phone as soon as you get up, before you go to bed, and you're gonna get all this information fed to you. So Aaron's gonna cover more about that.
Hey guys. So worldwide, there are about 1 billion members on Facebook, and at any given day, half of those members are checking it and are on it. So we're talking about like 500 million people on Facebook every single day. 47% of the entire adult population in the US checks at least one social media site. So we've got Instagram and Twitter, all those things. So half of all adults are checking at least one of those things. And that's not just like checking and looking, but that's spending quite a bit of time on it usually. Because we all know that it's kind of a domino effect. When you check one thing and then it links to a share, and then 45 minutes later, 3 hours later, you're Facebook stalking somebody you went to middle school with, right?
Catfishing.
And if this was all positive, if we weren't seeing any negative effects from so much social media and news addiction on our phones, then it wouldn't be a big deal, but we obviously are seeing a lot of negative effects that we talk about. And so it's sort of, I think about it, it's sort of like the fact that we have these smartphones now, you have complete access, unadulterated access all day long. So it's like if you have junk food at home versus in your pocket. If it's only at home, then you're only gonna eat your junk food at home. If your online abilities are only at home, you're only gonna be online at home. But now we have, it's like junk food in our pockets. It's these cell phones in our pockets, and so we're checking them every day. We're eating a Skittle every 2 seconds or whatever. And so the same thing goes with, junk food. If you're eating it all the time, you're becoming more addicted. The negative effects that junk food has on us are happening more the more you eat it. Same thing with cell phones. The more we're on them, the more we're checking social media, the more we're letting that inform our entire view of the world, the more we're seeing some of the negative effects of this phenomenon. UCLA found a study that when we are going to check, or when we're going to take a break, when we are in school or work and we feel that drain and we need a mental break, that what our brains are really asking for is social interaction. So it's really easy to see how having a phone addiction, having a social media addiction, and needing these breaks and feeling a need for social interaction leads us straight to our phones. But what happens is we don't get the same effects, we don't get the same benefits from a social interaction on our phone, because oftentimes it's not an interaction, it's just looking at something that somebody wrote. It's not like an actual interaction. And so you end up spending a lot more time there than you would be spending if you just needed to have a quick conversation with someone to kind of like debrief your mind and then go back to what you're doing. So you're wasting a lot of your time. And we're having this whole new obsession. We all know, what was the word of 2015 or whatever, selfie, or 2014,
Sure,
right?
let's go with that.
The word, okay, so selfies. That's a whole other issue that I'm gonna go into. There was an 18-year-old girl in Russia who climbed on top of a train, and the electric field around the train, it was a parked train, but the electric field around the train, she was electrocuted to death.
trying to take a selfie. She had a friend with her who got injured but wasn't murdered, wasn't killed, and she's was there to let all of us know exactly what that other girl was doing, and it was just strictly, this is going to be a great selfie, and so obviously it wasn't. There's also a young man in England who became so addicted to taking photos of himself. And it stems more than just taking photos of yourself. It's you take a photo of yourself and you don't like it, and then you take another one and you don't like it, and then you think, wow, do I really look like that? And then this guy was taking 200 plus photos a day, not going to school, freaking out because his mind was telling him, you're so ugly. So he's thinking, all these people are looking at me when I go out in the world, and this is what they're seeing. It made him withdraw from all of his relationships. He ended up being institutionalized. He had to drop out of school. And that's like maybe one extreme example that we're seeing in the news. But I think that it's not as extreme as we would like to believe. I think we can all either say we know someone or even ourselves that has sort of an issue with that it feeds on our narcissism and it feeds on our insecurities. And yeah. So, well, yeah, go. We'll go.
So, aside from like the social media, like think about like all the news that we get too. Like, do you think the news that we're getting from our phone is accurate and credible? Because think about it, like we're just flipping through and it's just like they time it to where you're only gonna be looking at it for 15 seconds.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing that's going on right now. So when we had newspapers and magazines, people would sell subscriptions. You were actually paying for the periodical. They could sell ad space. When it comes to the internet, they're having a lot of trouble. All of these news sources are having a lot of trouble making money because people don't click on banner ads, right? Like not intentionally. You might like accidentally click and you're like, oh, poop, trying to get off of it. And so what they're doing now is something called native advertising, or it's also called branded content or sponsored content. And basically it looks exactly like an article. So you're reading this article about somebody clothing the homeless, and you think you're getting this really good news from the New York Times or the Washington Post, a really credible website, a really credible journalistic site. And then it looks, everything about it, the font, everything, the pictures, everything looks just like a normal article, but it might be an ad for Tide because there might be a line in there somewhere that says, and then we had to wash all this clothes that was being donated, and it was washed in Tide detergent, and it came out cleaner than anything had ever come out before. And that might be a really benign example, but there's also really dangerous examples like Chevron, paying for ads and making everybody think that what they're doing in the golf course is good, and so we've got a lot of information that's coming at us that's just not credible, and we're not checking, nobody's checking sources. We're reading one thing and then it links us to another piece of information, we're reading that, and $50 billion was spent on this in the past 3 years. Like in 2015, $11 billion. That's marketers paying periodicals to put this branded content in. So it's obviously, if they're spending that much money, it's obviously getting them a lot of money back, which means that it's a lot of mind control that's happening on our end. We're reading things and we don't realize that we're being sold. So basically you're spending your time thinking that you're reading news, and you're actually spending your time feeding yourself camouflage commercials. So something to think about.
So same question that I asked everybody too. Like after you're looking at this research, what have you found yourself being guilty of for cell phone addiction?
For me, in the cell phone addiction, I feel like it's a little bit of I have spent a lot of time detached from my phone, and I always find that when I come back into using it, that there were like events that I didn't know about, because people don't take the time to call you anymore. They just post an event on Facebook, and so it's like it's not that I have a fear of missing out so much as you worry for your own relationships, that are they going to think that I didn't want to come to their birthday party, or so many people's memories and experiences are happening outside of yourself, and so then that means that you go on, and so then I go on to try and make sure that I'm a little bit informed, and then 3 hours later I've spent the only free time that I have, and I just feel brain dead, and it's like you can't win. It's a double-edged sword.
Before we take questions real fast, I just had this video I wanted to show everyone. You may have seen it probably about last year. kind of like hypocritical of me saying I saw it on my phone, but that's where I did find it.